Hello, and welcome to today's Training Industry Leader Talk, using AI to transform content development, sponsored by Axonify, ELB Learning, IMC Learning, SweetRush, and Xyleme. I'm Dee Caraglino, event producer and your host for the day. And now I would like to introduce our speaker, Josh Penzell. He is Vice President of AI Solutions at ELB Learning, specializing in integrating cutting-edge AI technologies in learning and development. His work focuses on leveraging AI to create dynamic and personalized learning experiences, and his passion for innovative education technologies drives his pursuit of developing AI solutions that transform content development and enhance learner engagement. And he already taught me something this morning. So welcome, Josh.
Hello, thank you. I'm glad, let's teach something, always be learning, I like to say. Well, hello we have folks from all over the globe. This is so exciting. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. We have a lot of exciting stuff to share with you. And so I'm not even going to, waste any time. Let's get right into it. So here we are. All right. So here we're talking how AI agents are redefining content creation. Generative AI is on everyone's minds right now. It has been for the last year. It is rapidly changing, and us as L&D professionals are in a unique situation, a unique spot to be able to take the most advantage of this. I say that because we are human behavior and learning behavior experts, and AI thinks like a human. And so what we can do is get AI to do the things we want most effectively, and we can teach others to do it. So today we're going to talk about taking that to the next step and creating agents, almost interns, junior designers that can help you redefine the way you do content creation, making it not only faster, more efficient, but also higher quality so that you can deliver the ROI to your stakeholders. Now, what is an agent is a question we might be asking. And what's the difference between that and a prompt? We hear a lot about prompt engineering. So a prompt is a command or input that instructs the AI in what to do. It's the programming, right? But programming with language. Your language is now the programming language. It used to be Python or BASIC or Fortran or C++, right? And Java, all these others. I think I showed my age there with some of those programming languages. But the prompt I want you to think of as the programming, the instructions. An agent is what happens when that prompt is interpreted and we create something that can start to transform it into a series of actions and an ongoing process. By the way, this image on the left with it says prompt and then has the match was created by Gemini, the new Google generative AI tool. So if you haven't played with that, pretty impressive. This is when I asked it to describe the difference between a prompt and an agent, what it produced. I thought it was pretty good. So I want you to think of an agent as the most brilliant intern you've ever met and the most brilliant instructional designer you have, assistant, whatever your term is, but it has very little context, right? If you tell it to go and create a training program, for instance, it is going to go create something, but it doesn't have context around that. And that is what you are going to do by building a prompt. If we build a prompt, right, that has all of the stuff we want in it and instructs this agent to do things in a certain way, we can take that prompt, save it, and reuse it over and over again. And there are even ways to do that. You can just paste it, but we can also do that using tools that are in stuff like ChatGPT. And in that way, we are creating a consistent process. And I want to show you how we're going to do that today. So actually, rather than go into this entire Gen AI framework, and by the way, this is how I think about these 5 I's, is how I think about using AI and agents in my course of work, right? I think about it as being able to ideate or brainstorm, being able to iterate, right? And do prototyping faster, individualize or personalize, make our learning specific to one or multiple individuals, implement it so I can actually use it to administer my learning, and I can even use it to improve and optimize by throwing data in there. But you know what? Rather than talk about this hypothetically, I think it would be more fun to show you. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second, and I'm going to pull up my Chat GPT window. And while I'm doing that, I did see a question come in. So, and I will answer that, Darcy, at the end, if that is okay. And Darcy's question was about what's a good way to manage our prompts? All right. So here I am in ChatGPT. By the way, what I'm going to talk about today works with any of the LLMs, the large language models, or the generative AI tools that are out there. This is just mine that I prefer to use. So here is an agent that I have created, meaning I have done programming using a prompt, right? Which is, again, in my language, English. And I have created a tool that can do things over and over and over and over again. This one is my SME collaborator. So I'm sure, like many of you, I deal with a lot, right? A lot of you are dealing with your SMEs. And it becomes sort of a pain, not in talking to them. We love talking to our SMEs. I'll let you fill in any blanks you want there. But what's really sometimes difficult is scheduling, right? Or having to get feedback, or even just getting time on their calendars. And so I created an SME collaborator that we use at ELB Learning that can basically asynchronously gather a bunch of data. And I'm just going to demonstrate, because we have limited time, how this works. So I would hit this Let's Begin button. And look at this. It's going to say, hey, can you share me the name? I even have a way for it to reference an ID number, right, of a project that's currently being worked on. But for the sake of showing you this, I'm just going to say, hi, I'm Josh. I'm working on an introduction to generative AI training. I'm a manager of 10 employees who would be taking the training. Okay. And now this SME collaborator is going to go in and start asking me questions. What are some of the goals of the training program? I'd want all my folks to use generative AI, adopt it. They need to understand what it is, how to use it, etc. Right? And I just want you to know, look, now it's going to rephrase what I gave it, and it's even sort of digging in deeper. And what's really cool is this will continue to dig in and to ask questions, and I could even provide it documents that I have, right? But just notice how this is having a conversation with me very generically, right? And it's actually doing a pretty good job. If I get into this, it will start to ask me, for instance, what metrics do you want to look at? What's most important to you? Why do you think these things are traveling? And by the way, this could be used not just for an SME. We have a similar one that's for intake. So, you know, all those projects that come to you and they're like, I need a training. Well, wouldn't it be great, instead of having that, you had something like this, right? That could say, hey, here's the training I want. Here's why I want it. Here are the things I'm trying to get out of it. And so this is a tool that helps me kickstart and go into the beginning of my content creation process, right? Let's look at another one. And this one I've shown before if you've ever caught one of my other webinars, but learner personas. So sometimes we create learner personas for our training program so that we can adapt something, right, to multiple learners, right? So we have a curriculum, or we have an idea for a training, and we want to make sure when we're building it and after we build it that it sort of hits different types of learners, right? And sometimes you only need a few personas, sometimes you need a lot. But I find the hardest thing with persona development, and my team's found this, is just getting started, right? Sometimes you just want to get something out there and then you want to respond to it. So I created an agent. So this is like a specialized intern that all it does is learner persona creation. And it's going to ask me, hey, give me some information about the program. And I specifically told it to sort of get in here and just start. So it's not going to dig very deep. By the way, if I had all this information from the SME finished, I could take that and just paste it in here. But let's assume I'm starting from scratch here, and I will get into some cascading agents in a minute. But what type of learning program? Let's say I'm talking about, let's go with that AI one. This is a program for the entire company. We deal with, I don't know, electronics, manufacturing, why not? And this is a training about generative AI, how to use it, what it is, etc. Because it's for the whole company, this would have a variety of learners from expert to novice, from new hire to tenured. And now it's going to say, cool, let's get started on some personas. And it's going to pop out these personas for me. It's going to give me attributes, demographics, motivational drivers, right? Now, I know some people see this learning preferences and styles, and they're quick to tell me learning styles don't exist, which I agree with. So that doesn't mean that something like this can't be improved upon, right? And I will show you on the back end what this looks like. So give me a moment there. But I've told it I want attributes. I want a full narrative, right? So I want you to write this out in sort of a story form. Okay. And then what's really cool about this is after it does that, it's going to say, hey, do you want to have any feedback for me? And if you don't, or even if you do, I want to go ahead and create a image for you. So I'm actually going to say, no, this is great. You can continue. And it'll keep doing this. And at the end, it's actually going to create all the visuals for these personas for me, which is a really cool part, right? Now, I'm going to pause here for a second before I move to the next part, which is going to show you how I build something like this, because these are built, which is super cool, and it lets me show off. But I know none of y'all are interested in just seeing what I built. I know you want to know how to build your own. But let me pause these. So a couple things that I wanted to talk about is, you can do this with the free version of ChatGPT. Now, me having these pre-built as I do, what these are called are GPTs. This is a feature only available to GPT Plus users. So that's, I think, $20 a month US. And I can share these with other GPT Plus users. I can even, and this is what we have at our organization, I can have a Teams version. So I can share GPTs with individuals on my team, right? But again, the core of this, and let me show you what the quote unquote back end looks like of this, is just a huge prompt. So you can see I've spent time creating a massive prompt. And if I don't want to pay for the Plus version, guess what? I can just copy and paste this into, for instance, a Google Doc or Word doc or a shared drive or my notes. And now I have these agents. Yes, is it a little more work? Because every time I have to start with pasting this. But let me actually show you. I'm going to copy this. Let's actually go back into, we'll create a new chat window real quickly. I'm just going to paste this. So we're in the regular ChatGPT. I'm going to press enter. And here, look, we got the same output that I got from just hitting let's begin. So again, how you manage it, totally up to you. I like to have these pre-built because it makes things easier for me. I can just hit the button and go, and for people who use it. But if that's not something you want to do, the power is in the prompt, and we use the prompt as the programming to create the agent. So now I have an agent that will allow me to do persona development, right? And so now that you've seen this, and unless there are any questions coming up, Dee, that I just have to answer right now, I'd really love to show how I do this and maybe how you can do it too, right when you leave here. All right. I don't hear anything, so I'm assuming that means let's continue.
Yeah, I think if you continue, that will answer most of these questions, and then we'll regroup at the end to make sure we covered everything.
Sounds good. All right. So here is an example of how I think some of us are using AI and how I might use it in the beginning. And I'm going to show you how I take this and how I create an agent from it that can autonomously do this over and over again. So I told it, hey, you're an instructional designer, you know andragogy and learning behavioral psychology, and you are basically a master's of education in adult learning, et cetera. And I'm giving it an attached outline of a course that I created. It basically has information on some AI topics that I want it to create. And I want you to create a comprehensive training program. I want it to have learning objectives. I want it to be comprehensive enough I can give to a developer. And so I put that in, I attach the document. And by the way, document attachment, I think, is only available in the paid version right now. If I didn't have the document and I could attach, I could just copy and paste and put that information below. But it looks at that and it creates a course, right? Instructional activities, assessments, all sorts of stuff. But you know what? It's not giving me what I want. The intern came back, gave me some great stuff, but I need to give it some notes, right? Because I'm the expert. And so I say, hey, I need you to build this course out with content, activities. I need you to spell it out to a comprehensive degree, so I can turn it into an e-learning course. So then it goes, okay, I hear you. Let me go ahead and do that. And so it starts to give me some more stuff, a little more built out. It's telling me the content, activities, the assessment it might have. And again, and this is the important part, I say, you know what? I need you to go to the next step. Create the content, create the assessment, describe the activities in detail, right? So I'm not taking what it gives me and just saying, let's stop. I'm taking what it gives me and I'm giving it feedback and notes because again, I'm the expert instructional designer. It's the agent, it's the intern, it's the assistant. It doesn't have context. So now it goes, okay, I think I know what you want. It starts spelling it out more, right? But again, this is, I don't think it's hearing me. And by the way, this is going to happen. It gets frustrating, right? So it's saying, hey, here's a module, here's this, here's content, here's some notes. And now I'm going, listen, I need you to develop all of the components in depth for the first module. I want you to write out the script. I want you to do this. And I keep giving it feedback. And finally, now I'm getting something I like. It has narration. It has slides. This is good. This is what I like, right? It has activities. It even gives me a quiz with the correct answers. So far, I don't think this is shocking to anyone, right? That it can do this. Now, here's the money. Here's where I say, hey, you know what, GPT? You know what, LLM, AI, agent, intern? I wish you had delivered this level of detail for every module at the very beginning of our conversation. Can you write a prompt that I could have given you at the very beginning that would have produced all of this as your very first output? And it says, yeah, sure, here you go. And look at that. It just gave me a totally more built out prompt. This is the prompt that I could have gotten to, right? So I did all that work. I gave it feedback. I told it stuff. And then I said, listen, I don't want to have to give you all this feedback again. So write a prompt I could have given you that you would have gotten to this point at the very beginning of our conversation. And now it turns into my prompt designer, right? My prompt engineer, my programmer, and it creates this, which is cool. But I'm not in an agent yet, right? It's now going to do this, but it's not doing it like that learner persona where it's doing it for everything. This still has a very specific cadence. So I'm going to go into my next ChatGPT window and I'm going to do this again. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to repeat my process. I'm going to paste this entire prompt in here that I just got. I'm going to attach that document again. And I'm going to say, let's go. And now it's giving me, all right, right at the beginning, here's the narration, here's the visuals, here's the questions, some more information. This is good, right? And I say, hey, now I say, this is good, but you know what? I might have a document that's not AI related. And by the way, if we look here, it says I have a document focused on generative AI, histories, applications, And I'm going, well, maybe I don't have a document that's AI related. I'm doing, customer service training, or I'm doing whatever, right? So I need you to create a prompt for me that will work for anything. So I tell it, hey, I want you to do something. What prompt could I have given you so you would have gotten to this level of detail, but you could do it for any subject? And it goes, yeah, sure. Here's your rewritten prompt. Oh, wow, look at that. Now it's giving me, right? I have a document focused on subject area, including key topics such as, here's the topics. And now I have a new prompt. So what are we going to do? We're going to iterate again. And by the way, although I've done this beforehand, like a good cooking show, right? I've put I've done the ingredients and I put in the cake and I'm bringing it out so you don't have to wait 45 minutes for the cake to bake. I guarantee this did not take more than 10 minutes to get to this point. So now let's just make sure that it's working the way I want. Here's that prompt that it created for me. And look, now it's going, hey, based on all that, I need some information. Could you provide me with the actual subject area, the list of topics? That'll help me. So, and this is me operating without a net right now. I'm going to go ahead and put that in and say attached is the document and it includes the other information you're looking for. And let's see what happens. It's going to read my document. And again, I could have just pasted that. And now we go, look, it's giving me a whole bunch of information, right? And again, for instance, it sort of reverted here on the narrative, the narration. So I might want it to make sure that it's saying stuff, but it's building this out. It's giving me some questions. And this is where now I would go back and do that process you just saw me do again. And I would do that again. And I would do that again. And once I do that, you know, spend an hour doing that sort of iteration, now I have a tool that I can use anytime I have content and I want to suddenly create out an entire outline with more detail, right? But, you know, this is only one task. And this is interesting, but let's see, you know, I had created those personas and now I have this training and I'm curious, like, is the training actually fitting the need of these personas? So I'm going to open up this new chat window. And in here I go, hey, attached is a document that contains learner personas. In all fairness, I actually attached the wrong document, but let's pretend it was the right document. Below is a training program. I want you to make sure that, you know, from the basis of these personas, that it works. And I want you to make any changes to my outline, you know, so that way we get a good training program that's good for all my learning persona. Excuse me. And so I pasted in the outline from previous chat window. And look at this, it's giving me feedback and it's saying suggestions, feedback and suggestions. And it's saying, hey, here's changes you can make to the training program. Now I say, you know what? I know I created a few learner personas, but there are probably folks that I don't, you know, I didn't even think to include. The CLO, the CEO, the CTO, a manager, a new hire. I want some other folks to review this. So I say, hey, can you review this from those other 10, you know, or other 5, 10 personas? And by the way, this is all I said is the CLO, the CEO, right? A learner out of college, someone with 30 years tenure of the company. And then I want you to provide their feedback and make recommendations. And it goes, sure. And look at this. Here's feedback from the CLO, from the CEO, from the CTO, from the manager, new employee, learner just out of college, et cetera, et cetera. Recommended changes. And I say, great. Can you make the changes? Sure. Here's the revision. And now it's giving me a revision with all of these things, right? It says, oh, you might need some additional modules you hadn't created before. And again, I could keep doing this, right? So this isn't perfection yet. It's never perfection. But I'm going to keep doing this. This is the quote unquote programming, is me giving feedback. And I'm a learning behavior expert, right? I'm an L&D professional. So I know how to give feedback to learners in order to get them to change their behavior. And there's nothing magic here. I think you can see from my my prompts and what I'm telling it. It's not like I have some secret sauce, right? Maybe a couple ways of wording things because I've done this so much. And now you know where I'm going next. Hey, assume that the prompt I gave you at the very beginning of the conversation, you know, I wanted you to do this thing at the very beginning. And I wanted you to give me this level of feedback. I wanted you to also look at it from all these other personas. And, you know, great, gives me that prompt. And then, you know where I'm going next too. I want to make this more generic. Hey, make this prompt so the topic can be anything, not just AI. And I would want not just the learner personas, but 15 plus different personas. I want them, right? And it goes, cool. Here's that prompt. So wait, let's just revisit what we have now. I have 2 sort of agents I've created, right? So 2 employees, 2 interns. One can take information and create an outline with some scripting and some quizzes and some questions and some other stuff. Like, awesome. I love that. That's great. And I also have this other one that can take that content and review it from several personas, from different points of view of personas I haven't even created. But you know what would be great? Wouldn't it be awesome if I could just have one agent that did all of that automatically, one after the other? So what do you think we're going to do here? I'm just going to take the two prompts, the first one. So here's the document I focused on a subject area. And the second one, personas, and I'm going to paste them both into a new window and create now a larger prompt. Now I've given it a little bit of some manual editing here. I said something like you're going to perform these steps, and between each step, I want you to pause and ask for feedback. And this is so I can tell it how I want it to think. If I hadn't done this, that would be fine. It would do this, and then I would see that feedback, and I would keep reiterating. And I'll admit at some point, having it sort of rewrite the prompts for you over and over and over again. At some point, you might need to go in and manually make some adjustments, like this little sentence I put here. But now I've put this all together, and it goes, cool. Let's start with step one. Could you provide me with that document? And let's go ahead and do that. Here's the document, same document I've been using. That includes the subject area and topics. So now it's going to read those. And if we've done our job, it should provide us with some sort of overview, and then it should start to break that down into a course. So let's see how it does. Again, this is me operating without a net right now in front of you. Look at that. Oh, I'll start drafting this. It'll include the script and activity. Can I proceed? Yeah, go ahead.
So Josh, is there any chance that this works with videos as well?
Creating videos is your question?
Or taking the information from videos versus a document?
So here's...
I don't know if we're there yet, but that was a question from the audience.
I love that question, and here's what I would do. Does ChatGPT have built-in transcription where it can do that? Not yet. But are there other services that do? Yep. I mean, right now we're on Zoom, right? And it's providing transcription. And there are a lot of note takers that join our calls that can provide transcription, and YouTube can provide transcription. So if you take that transcript, right, and you paste that into here, or put that in a document, now you have what you want. And so, for instance, if you were thinking, I don't know, I have someone doing a product overview for an hour at an SME doing that, and I want to turn that into a course, take that, output it to a transcript, take that transcript and put it in here. And that's a manual step. And then it'll continue. Now, in the future, I have no doubt GPT or one of the others is going to provide input. I think maybe Gemini might already be working on that in 1.5, where you can put in a video and it will be able to take that and do that with it. But yeah, absolutely doable. We do that internally. It just requires that extra step. So now it's saying, hey, do you want to make any adjustments to this? Look at this. It's giving us, remember at the very beginning where we got to a narration and visuals? And I'm saying, yep, let's proceed. And now it's going to proceed and do the next module. Right? And I would love to see, and if questions are coming in, we can answer those while this is working. But what I want to see and show you is that this then will go to the persona review. And notice how I'm not like, look how much time and work this is saving me. And by the way, if it's not perfect, that's great. What are we going to do? Give it feedback, have it rewrite the prompt, and do this again and again and again.
So one of the questions that's come in is, what about data security? So how do you know that it isn't pulling information that was proprietary from some other company? And that kind of ties into a question that I had is, at some point, I'm assuming once you get everything pulled together, you edit through it and make sure that all the information is correct.
Yep. So two things on that. I think one is you're talking about inputs and data security, and the other one is you're talking about, is this correct information, right? So let me address the second one because it's easy. Absolutely. I think even you need to review this, right? This is not popping out something that is perfect. It's popping out something that's 80% of the way there. Remember, your intern, you're not going to not check their work. Now, so you're going to want to make sure it hasn't hallucinated or made up anything. So you're going to go in and you're going to, double check that. That's something we still need to do. And if you look at the terms of service that any of the LLMs are providing, they basically are saying, check your work. In fact, it says right down here, ChatGPT can make mistakes, right? So you need to check it. I'm not saying this is a replacement for humans completely. I'm saying it can optimize your creation process, right? So now instead of you having to spend all this time on this, now you can go back and double check it. And there are ways to sort of have it, to say in your prompt, you could say something like, be completely unbiased, don't make up anything, cite your sources. And those are some tactics you could use. For the security thing, and this is a big question that's coming up, and I hasten to sort of say at the top, check with your legal and security teams. Every organization has different policies. Some ways they're getting around this is they build their own version internally using API keys, and they have a direct agreement with OpenAI, for instance. There are ones called DPAs you can get that basically acknowledge that you have a secure relationship or that they're not going to use your material. Just like using a cloud solution or using one of your other companies that you're using for anything that's SaaS based, you're still opening yourself up to some risk, right? So, the fact that we have Zoom and Zoom's recording, there's a risk there that someone could hack Zoom and get in and get all the information, right? So you're still dealing with that risk. Now, if you're specifically asking about sort of, yeah, but I've heard that they use this to train their models. Well, there are certain versions, like the Teams version that I have, and I'll just show you down here, right? We have our ELB Learning Teams version. It's called Teams. It is specifically made for organizations. I can see other members in my team. I can share these agents with them. And one of the benefits of Teams is it says, these chats are not used to train our models. If you look deeper into their terms and service, I think there's something where they, use certain GPDR, right? In California or whatever, like privacy laws, they say that they retain the material for maybe 30 days and certain people at the organization can, if needed, access it, but it will be deleted after 30 days, right? So if you're using the free version, yes, like you're not paying for it, it's probably going out and it's going to be, used to train their models. So again, this is something, it's a decision you have to make with your organization. Some organizations are much higher risk averse. And so they're sort of saying, absolutely not, like I cannot use this at all. Don't even try, don't use it on our computers. And in that, you need to work with your IT team and wait for them to come out with an internal solution. We've had customers who've done that, right? Built their own internal solution. It's usually built on OpenAI or ChatGPT, but they feel better about it. If you're okay, you have your legal team look at sort of the Teams version or the enterprise version, or you have an agreement with OpenAI or any of the others. What I would say, though, is you can't wait as an L&D professional. Do not wait to upskill yourself on this until the organization catches up with you. Because when they say, yes, now you can use it, if you start from square one at that point, you are like years behind in AI development, right? And you'll never be able to catch up. And what I've heard talking to clients, and I'm sure other leaders today will echo this, is there is the acknowledgement that there's a security risk and we want to be aware of it. And if we don't start using this and figure out how to use it, we're going to lose to those who do. By the way, we had this foundational perspective. Now it's moving on and it's saying, cool, can I review this? And now I'm going to say, yep. And I have my personas that I created previously. Proceed, and attached are additional personas to review. And now it's going to read the documents, right? And it should continue on to do this review. And if I wanted to continue to do this, right, it would give me feedback. It's going to review it. And again, I can keep stacking these prompts over and over again. So you start to see how we can get almost autonomous with this. And the work you're doing is on refining the prompt and the model. And I would start, by the way, if you do have security things, there are materials that are open, AI, for instance. There's tons of material out there. I'm not giving it any proprietary information, right? And so this is how I would proceed from it. I think you can see this is working now. And so, just to give you an idea of how that works, and I know we're And now it's saying, hey, can I do refinements, etc. So you see how this works. You see that it works. And there's me like, running and showing you all the cool stuff. I have a few more slides I want to show to sort of maybe help us put some framework around this. So I'm going to stop sharing and move over to that. But Dee, if there are other questions coming in that I should respond to, and I know that we run short on time here, and I have a tendency to go over. So in the interest of balancing that, please interrupt me and let me know if there are other ones I need to be addressing.
Well, Darcy would like to know if there's a best practice for managing your prompts once you start compiling them, or streamline your prompt management.
Yeah, and I think I said probably in there, but I'll re-put it. Do two things. One is save those prompts, like get a Google Doc or a Word doc or something and start saving your prompts in there. If you can use that GPT feature I was showing you, right, which is in the Plus version, I would start using that. You saw me click on learner persona and it automatically filled everything out. The cool thing with that also is you can add knowledge documents in there. So if you have specific formats or specific personas you normally use in your organization, you can have those there, right? So it's a manual process now in some ways of managing them. I'm sure at some point someone will come up with better ones, but that's what I would do. I always take any task I'm doing, I take it and do this. I put it into a GPT, which is essentially ChatGPT or OpenAI's version of an agent, and I have it. So you might have seen when I was in there my conference proposal one. So every time I apply for a conference, I have an agent that searches my name, searches the conference's name, looks at the, what's of interest, looks at the recent trends, looks at my specialties, and produces 10 ideas for me. I choose the ideas, it helps me refine them, and then it writes a proposal for me. Is it perfect? No. Would I just send it in without editing it? Absolutely not. But it's like 80% of the way there, and it reduces the mental load on what I'm trying to do. So as you're thinking about where to use agents, I want you to go back to this model I've provided, right? These 5 I's. I love acronyms, so I could have used different words here, but I just love, using. So ideate. So use this to, ideate on ideas, to ideate on what a training thing could look like. Iterate. I think you saw us iterating on training several times, even having the personas, right, sort of pressure test my training program so that I could go through maybe 1 or 2 less sequences of review later on. I could also have used those personas and said, create 4 learning paths for me based on each of these personas. And once we get more advanced with our LMSs or even our content creation, and you could do this now if you really wanted to work on it, how would you do it? Ask GPT to give you some guidance. You could have it individualize in the moment and adapt in the moment. That's something we've played with at ELB Learning. I can also have it implemented. If I had taken those quiz questions and I put it in and said, hey, I want you to run through these questions for me, choose them at random, give me feedback, and then put it out into a JSON format, it could have done that. Right? And I could build that as variables, for instance, into Lectora or into Articulate, right? If I wanted to, and then improve. Once you do all of this, we were improving by going back and forth, but as you start getting data from training, you can output, for instance, your LMS reports, put that back in with your original training programs, right? With that module, and it could say, hey, based on this data, here's where you might want to make additional things. Right? And if you stack these, imagine just having a bot that's sitting there. And by the way, those chat windows on the left, right? Each of those you can have continuous conversations with. So one way I didn't even mention, but if to manage your prompts is put one into a chat window on the left, rename it something fancy like my persona agent. And every time you want to talk to it, just go back in there and continue your conversation. Here are some ideas that I came up with, right, on ways you could use this. And you'll get this deck afterwards. So you can go through this. This can help jumpstart your brainstorming process. Yes, I did use ChatGPT to help me with this. So I think that's something for you to think about. And I want to leave you with one other thing, okay, which is we've been talking about creating content more effectively, but I think that is a short-term answer. I think we need to move past content creation to figuring out how we use AI to provide a better learner experience. a guy named Ethan Malik and his wife Lilac Malik, who, if you're not following them, or you're not in their Substack, or you're not searching them, you should, right? There's one paper here I've attached. But for instance, he said, here are 7 roles of AI that AI can do to help you learn. We know about the tutor, for instance, it's teaching me. But what I want you to think about, because we have limited time, I'll just throw it out there, is an AI student. So imagine, we all know, right? I learn best by teaching. Imagine a world where you create a learning program where essentially my job is not to pass the quiz. My job is to teach an AI student, and the AI student has to pass the quiz. I already have the quiz. I already have the content. So imagine I provided you with an AI that lets you ask questions and trains you, and then I provided you with that AI student. And your job was to train the student as much as possible to pass the quiz. That to me is like the next level of learning that gets beyond just doing the same thing we've done previously and just producing more content, to rethinking the paradigm of how to learn in this and how we create learning experiences in this world of AI. I think at that, I'm almost at time, Dee. So I will pause and ask what other questions I can answer for this group.
Let's see, we have time for just maybe 1 or 2 questions. Seth would like to know if there's any language you can use or avoid to help it be more accurate, or as he says, mitigate hallucinations.
Yes. So you sort of learn these over time, but one thing is to say, I want you to be unbiased and not create anything in providing your answer. There is a paper, and I didn't link to it, but go search for, there's something like 21, I think it's 21 aspects or things you can add into a prompt. Someone did research and looked at adding certain things. And for instance, they found, I'll give you an example. If you say, I'm going to tip you $1,000 for the best response, and you will be penalized if you don't give it to me, that somehow increases its probability of giving you the best thing. So there you go.
Okay, well, unfortunately, that's pretty much all the time that we have. I think we probably could have done 5 sessions just on this because there's so much interesting stuff here. But if we're lucky, maybe you'll come back, and we will also send this information out after the session, after today's event.
Thank you.
Are you on LinkedIn or anything? Can people connect?
Yes, I think we'll send out emails afterwards, but feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, connect with me, ask me questions, find me on the ELB Learning website. However you want, I'm here. And if you're going to be, at any of the events coming up, you can also tag me down and find me. Dee, thank you so much for being an amazing host. Everyone, thanks so much for your participation and for the incredible chats and questions. I look forward to coming back again, Dee.
Oh, well, I hope you do, because I've learned a lot today. Thank you.